Bullroarer is live with the first beta of the upcoming update 36 for LOTRO, and in this video I'm gonna go through all the new stuff. The biggest piece of content in this update will be the new landscape zones in King's Gondor. As soon as you log into the game, you will get a mail in your mailbox from Glyndar, the Herald of the King, who will summon you to meet King Elessar. In order to get to King's Gondor, you have to travel to Minas Tirith after battle, where the battle just happened and Minas Tirith is kind of in ruins. And from this point you go out to the Pelennor fields. You simply head south and go through the gates all the way south in Pelennor. So once you make your way all the way south in Pelennor, you get to the gates of the Rammas defense, and through this gate you enter the King's Gondor. So I just arrived in Harlond, and people might see that Harlond looks quite a bit different from what it used to be. It's more repaired. That's going to be the case through this zone, through King's Gondor. It's going to look pretty similar, at least like the landscape is of course the same. After all, the landscape is not going to change, but this is taking place after the wedding of Aragorn, so obviously a lot has changed in Gondor. It's probably going to be less gloomy, less enemies, and more of the image of the King Elessar's Gondor. So if you look at the map of King's Gondor, you can see that we only have the eastern parts of Gondor. The western parts of Gondor is kind of hidden, cloaked. We can't really see details here, so I'm assuming this is for a future update, the rest of King's Gondor. So for this update 36, we're going to be questing through this eastern parts of King's Gondor, all the way to Lower Lebanon, and we can't really enter the western parts yet. One thing I think that could work, since we're going to Umbar, it kind of makes sense that we're heading west till we get to Dol Amroth, where all the ships are, and maybe we sail south from Dol Amroth to Umbar, who knows. That's one way they could go about it. We quest on the western parts of Gondor for a bit, and then we reach the ships and take us to Umbar, and maybe we do some questing in Umbar as well. But for this update we have Lossarnach in King's Gondor. Looks pretty similar, but there's gonna be some differences that people will notice when you quest through it. Also Upper Lebanon, King's Gondor, and we have Lower Lebanon, King's Gondor. These are the three new areas that we're gonna get with update 36, and we're not gonna be able to get further west than this point. There's not really any major class changes, so I figured I'd just go through them simply like this. Some of the player stun removal skills are being changed from immediate to fast skills. There's some adjustments to the tooltips of some brawler traits. It's not going to change anything, it's actually going to make it more powerful. The aim skill now works for throw knife for a berg. The champion tracery for swift strike with the power cost is getting a minor change. There's a fix to a guardian class essence. And for rune-keeper, a kind of a nice change. Do not fall this day will no longer break your targets out of stealth, so no longer can you break out a hunter that's in stealth with your DNF skill. With update 36, we're finally getting the difficulty system to landscape that we've seen on legendary servers. It's seen a slight rework, but the base of it is that if you make a new character, you can pick a difficulty level, or any character on any level can change their difficulty in landscape. But if you do it before level 10, there are a couple of deeds you can gain. If you talk to the Hardened Traveler, which you can find in the major hubs and in the beginner areas like Archet, you will see that he will have difficulty 1, 2, 3, all the way to 9. And of course, the landscape gets harder the higher you go on the difficulty. If you select tier 3, difficulty 3 Fearless and above, you will receive unique deeds upon getting level 50 and 130. But you need to have the difficulty active at all times until you reach those levels. The difficulty will shut down in instances and in Delvings, but it'll only matter in landscape. Additionally, if you complete this on a character, it seems like the titles are account-wide, because it says that original characters can use those titles if you complete it on a new character. There's also a new faction with this update. The Path of Valor will be its own faction, and there's a new barter item called Heroes Marks, which will work as a barter item for this system. Basically, if your difficulty is Fearless, so 3, 4, 5, and 6, these tokens can drop from landscape mobs for groups to up to 3 people. If you go higher, 7, 8, or 9, you can group as 6 people and also get drops. And the higher the difficulty, the more you will see the drop rate of these tokens as well. There's also going to be some barter items from the Pass of Valor. According to the patch notes, there's going to be morale and power potions and also reputation accelerators. There's also a task for a turn-in. If you get the tokens of Valor 10, you can turn in for 3 heroes marks. If we take a look at the Hardened Travelers barter items currently, we have 5 new emotes. So you need 100 heroes marks per emote. There's going to be something special about them for sure. Those are the rewards that we can see on the barter currently. So with update 36, we should see the difficulty system arriving on the live servers. We also see some changes to Delvings, new cosmetic pets. We get morale and power potions. As usual, there's a few bug fixes to current missions that we already have. There's been a change to how many writs you earn by doing Delvings. Tier 1, 2, and 3 gives 10 writs, Tier 4, 5, and 6 give 20, 7, 8, and 9 give 30, and 10, 11, and 12 give 40 writs. Another change for the rewards: when you get the reward, you usually get those crafting boxes that people might be familiar with. You can now disenchant those crafting boxes for 20 delving writs. Delving armor items will also be disenchantable for more writs. Teal delving armor will be worth 30 writs, purple will be 20 writs, and yellow will be 10 writs. We also get flickering essences and delvers essences to barter for. There's also an extraordinary delving chest that will drop from tier 7 and above in instances. And while it's still rare, new instances have a significantly higher drop rates for this item. Speaking of new instances, the Great Barrow instance clusters and Anuminos can now host delvings. If you enter Anuminos Ghynghyn, you now see the delving stone. So these, the Anuminos instances and the Great Barrow ones, will be able to be done with the delving system. So we finally have our first 6-man instances with the delving system. For PvMP, we're getting a change to how people earn Infamy and Renown. Basically right now with the Etmors, there's an issue with something called the shuffle, with the strongest side pushing the other side to their home base. So if there's more creeps and a lot of raids out, they might push the creeps back to their home base, and there will be a lot of back and forth action here. And the same can be said for the other side, where the creeps might push the creeps back into the Steps of Gram, and there's just a shuffle back and forth. The change that's happening now is that you're going to earn less by being in a raid, and also in a fellowship you're going to earn less than if you're playing solo. But a fellowship group is going to be the sweet spot for group play. You're going to earn more if you're playing in a fellowship than if you're playing in a raid. So clearly what they're trying to do is to reduce the amount of raids out in the Etmors. But basically you're going to earn less by being in raids, more if you're in a fellowship, and of course even more if you're in solo and not in a group. So I think most players are going to find themselves being in fellowships if they're out in the moors rather than raids. Another thing that is brand new on this update 36 beta is the introduction of Siege to PvMP. And currently it's only working in Lugazag and it's controlled by the creeps. I think that's why I don't really see anything. I don't know how the Siege works exactly, and I don't have much time. The server's going down soon. But obviously you can see the hotspots for, I'm assuming this is where the gate is going to be. The reinforced gate, and then you have a lot of hotspots for Siege, for the attackers I believe. And if I recall correctly, there's going to be like Siege up here or something. Probably up top here. But this is the very, Siege is not fully implemented yet. It's just a very early beta test for the Siege. But unfortunately I don't have time to do any testing. But we can see the outlines of how it's going to work. Probably going to be able to get Siege here to attack and break down the door. And then take over the castle. So Siege is coming to LOTRO, and this is a very early beta test for how it's going to look. But you kind of get the idea. In this boss you can build Siege in order to help you take the keep and break down the door. Hey! Hey you! Yeah you! What do you want? You enjoy my content and you want to support me? Fine, I'll show you how you can do it. I would really appreciate if you like the video and subscribe to my channel. You can also support me through my Ko-fi homepage. If you're playing or looking to play Lord of the Rings online, there is one place you need to be. The Ghyniverse is a Discord server created for the community of the players of Lord of the Rings Online. The server is getting close to 7,000 members, and in this server you'll find tons of helpful information. There's monthly giveaways, easy access to patch notes, you can keep up with my YouTube videos, my streams. If you're a streamer, you can ask for the streamer role and you can announce your streams in the other stream channel. There are discussion channels for pretty much everything, every class, monster players. But the best thing about this server is probably the Gearing Resources tab, where you can find anything from trait lines for every class, every build. There are stat goals, where you can find out what stats you should aim for on your characters. Really helpful information about drop rates from instances, as well as screenshot from all the new loot that appears in the game. If you enjoy LOTRO, you should definitely consider joining this server, and hopefully I'll see you in Middle-earth. If you were part of the Ghyniverse already, you might have noticed that another tab appeared at the top, the LFF server. This server is a brand new server that I created, the LFF Ghyniverse. In this server, you can select which servers you want to keep up with, and once you select your server, say you select Arkenstone, you will see the LFF, the kinship advertisement, looking for kinship and trade channels, and there's also voice channels if people want to use those. The LFF channel is basically a looking for fellowship channel where people can post if they need players for the runs, and this way people don't have to be logged into the game to see the chat. They can just instead get a notification on their Discord. There's also a kinship advertisement page where kins can post their kinship advertisement and have people join their kins, and you can also post in the looking for kinship chat if you're looking for a kinship, but make sure to take a look in the kinship advertisement first and look through all the kin to find a suitable kin for you. There's also a trade channel if people want to buy or sell stuff that you can use. Hopefully you'll consider joining this server to bring the community even more together, not just in the game, but also outside of the game.